Okay, so the draw stay effect is an effect where you can take a shape like a circle or a rectangle and you can make the picture repeat itself within that shape. So for instance, this picture, I took this picture of my camera in front of a mirror and then I applied the draw stay effect inside of the camera lens, and the draw stay effect just kept repeating the pattern over and over and over again in a swirl. And here's another few more examples, like on the keyboard. This is a rectangle shape, and once you get the draw stay effect and you apply it to the picture, you can basically pick out the space of where you want the picture to repeat itself. And you can also choose whether you want it to spiral or whether you want it to just like repeat itself. So we're going to learn how to do this right now. And the hardest part about this whole process is really just installing, getting the draw stay plugin like all set up. So I'm just going to walk you through this. There's basically two methods. We can do either, we can use Photoshop and then download the Pixel Blender plugin for Photoshop and then paste the draw stay code inside the plugin, and then we can start messing around with the pictures. Or we can use GIMP, which is a free Photoshop alternative, and then install the MathMap plugin for the GIMP and then paste the draw stay code in MathMap. This may sound complicated, but I'm going to walk you through it step by step, so hopefully you'll totally understand it and it won't be too much of a problem. So I'm going to show you how to do it with GIMP first. So the first thing you need to do, as you can see in the ebook here, is download and install GIMP. So you can go to Google and type in GIMP, or you can just click the link that's in the ebook. And then we're right here and we click download. And let's see here. So you're going to click that and it's going to download. And once you get this all downloaded, let's just save it right now. Okay, so it's just a small 20 megabyte file. This will be done in about a minute, and then once that's done, we'll open it up and install it. Alright, so that's done installing. So let's double click on it. Click next, next, install now. And that's gonna install. And once that's done installing, we're gonna go to step 2 and download MathMap, which is a plugin for the GIMP. And now I'm just gonna wait until this is done here. Yawn. Okie doke. There you go. Okay, so I don't want to launch it right now, so I'm going to uncheck that and click finish. So that's installed. But now we need to download and install MathMap. So let's click on that. And if you click on this and it doesn't work, just go to Google and type in MathMap. So here we are. Now let's download it for Windows. Save file. And now it's almost done. Okay, that's done downloading. Now we're going to install it. So I'm going to double click on it, click run, click next, accept the agreement, click next, click next. And then I just want the default installation, click next and install. So that's all done now. That's all set up. You'll see that the GIMP icon is now on our desktop, or it might be somewhere listed in your program files, but just double click that and load it up and wait for this to load. And now you should get this. This is what the GIMP looks like. You got your tools in this window, and then you got your picture area in this window. So we're going to load up a picture here. I'm just going to drag and drop a flower picture into here. And now, to apply the draw stay effect to a picture, we're going to click filters, which is located at the top here. And then we are going to click generic math map. And then we are going to click math map right there. Then this window will pop up, and this is where we're gonna paste the draw stay into here. So all this text right here is where we're gonna paste it. So we're gonna select all of this and just delete it. And now we're gonna go to step 4 and copy this draw stay effect code and then paste it inside of that area. So here is the draw stay code right here. We're going to copy all of this stuff right there. So I have all that highlighted. We're just going to right click it, click copy, minimize the Firefox window, and then paste it inside of the math map program. Then we're going to click this preview button right here. And once we do that, we can now go into these different tabs. The user values tabs is the one that you want. And now we can play around with the controls and mess around with the picture. We are going to mess around with all these controls later in just a moment. Before we start doing that though, I would like to show the Photoshop users how to apply the draw stay effect to a picture. So to get this working for Photoshop, if you don't want to use GIMP, just type in Pixel Bender into Google, click the first result, and then we are going to download this guy, download Pixel Bender for CS5. Yeah, I agree to the terms. And next we are just going to download the 64-bit version because that's what I'm using. Save file, yes, that's what I want to do. Click OK. And then it will start downloading. So now it's done downloading, so we're going to double click on it. So after I double clicked this file that I just downloaded, it opened up this. And this is telling me that it has installed and it's ready to go. So I'm just going to close out of the Adobe Extension Manager. Get out of that. So I just double clicked this and installed it, and Pixel Bender is now installed. But now we need to download the draw stay effect filter for the Pixel Bender plugin. So we're going to double click this. I'm going to click Save File. And if this link doesn't work when you click it in the ebook, you can just go to Google and type in something like draw stay effect Pixel Bender. And now you can get it from here. So once we download this sucker, we are going to right click on the file and click extract all. I'm just going to unzip the folder, that's all I'm doing. And once that's unzipped, we got the actual folder here. We're going to double click it. And you will see that this draw stay file right here, the actual code, is right there. Now all we have to do is place this file in the proper directory. And the proper directory for this specific file, the place where we need to drag and drop this file, is right here. You click on your hard drive, click Program Files, Adobe Photoshop CS5, and then there should be a folder called Pixel Bender Files. And you'll see other ones in here. So what we're going to do is just drag and drop this one right into there. And there it is. Now it's all set up and we can start messing around with some pictures. So let's open up Photoshop. So we have Photoshop open and we're going to start messing around with some pictures with the draw stay effect. So let's drag and drop a picture here. And now usually you will want some sort of transparency on your picture. So you can see this picture has a black background, but look what happens when I try to apply the draw stay effect to this picture. Let's just go to Filter, Pixel Bender Gallery, because that's where we're going to mess around with it. Then we are going to click this drop down box and click draw stay, and here we are. So usually the first thing that I do right away is move the size all the way up. And then the next thing where I go to is center shift. I'm just going to correct this so I can place the center point where I want to. Then I can recenter the canvas and reposition that in its proper place by messing around with the values that say center. These values will be labeled slightly differently if you're working inside of GIMP. So that's just something you want to keep in mind. Now here is the problem with this picture. You can see that it's totally square. You have this black square going around. And the reason why that is, I'm just going to cancel this and show you. The reason why that is because we have all these black pixels in this picture. So what we need to do is completely delete the black pixels and just make it transparent. Then it's going to look pretty funky and cool. So to do that, we're going to unlock this layer. This happens in Photoshop. It automatically locks the background layer. So we're just going to grab that little lock icon and drag it down into the trash can. Once it's unlocked, we can now erase this black area. So I'm just going to grab my magic wand tool and I'm going to select this area, and then I'm going to push the delete key on my keyboard. And now you can see that there's nothing there. It's just the flower. But actually, I want to create a separate layer underneath the flower layer and fill that with black. And to do that, I just pressed Control Backspace, and that filled it in with the background color on my color palette. So now we can apply the draw stay effect to this picture. Let's click on the flower layer just to have that selected. And we're going to go to Filter, Pixel Bender Gallery, and we're going to select Draw Stay just like before. And now look what's happening. We can see the edges of the flower, which is really, really, really cool. So, like before, I'm going to make the size 4000 by 4000 because that's just personally what I always do. Then I'm going to go down all the way down to center shift and readjust the center point. And then I'm going to recenter the canvas by adjusting the thing that just says center. Ah, looking pretty cool, isn't it? I'm getting excited already. Alright, so there you go. That's the basic way how to do it. And there's other knobs too, but I usually don't mess around with these too much. I mean, this is usually the standard thing that you want to do. But if you want to try experimenting, there's different ways. Like you can make it a hyper draw stay. You can increase the fractal points. So this is like photographic fractals in a way. You can increase the way it spirals. And by the way, this Pixel Bender plugin is also works with Adobe After Effects, and I think it also works with Adobe Premiere too. I'm not sure. So you can even do this with video, which is very, very cool. You can also increase the radius, like how much do you want it to spiral, like the frequency basically. And usually I just mess around with that until it looks good, like right about there. I like it. You can rotate the picture. You can zoom in on the picture, which is somewhat pointless. I always have that zoomed all the way out. And if there was transparency that we could see, you can adjust the background color right here. So for instance, if I made the radius like that, where we can actually see the background color, then we could adjust the background color so you could actually see what's happening. But I usually never have to do that because, like we just did right here, we made the flower on the separate layer and then we just filled in the background layer with black. So I never really have to mess with these background options right here. And that's that. We're going to click, or first of all, what I want to do is just make this back into an actual spiral, like right there. And then I'm going to click OK, and bam, it's done. Now that is really cool looking. I love that. So there's the regular flower, and there is the freaking awesome spiral flower. And now you can also do some pretty creepy things with this too. You can, like, for instance, you can do it on your eyeball like that. Or you could put sunglasses on so it doesn't look as creepy as that if you wanted to. And here's another one I did with my eye. And I actually kind of want to show you how I did it with my eye, because I had to make my eyeball bigger in this example for it to work. If the area that you're deleting is too small, it's not going to show up very well. So what I had to do is make my eyeball actually bigger, and I did that in Photoshop. And so why don't we try doing that right now? Let's just drag another picture of me in here. Okay. You've probably seen like hundreds of pictures of me in this so far in this whole video series, but okay, so let's mess around with this. Let's go to Filter, Liquify. This filter is going to allow me to make my eyeball bigger. Okay, so I'm going to grab my forward warp tool, and I might have to adjust the brush size before I can start messing around with it a little bit. Yeah, so I'm just going to make my brush size right about there, and I'm just going to drag and drop. I'm just going to click and hold basically and readjust the size of my eyeball. And you'll see sometimes, like for instance right here, the pixels are coming out really blurry. Kind of looks like a reflection in a water pond or something. If that happens, just click Restore All right here and do it over again. Because if it looks too wavy, that is just not going to look very cool. So just stretch out the eyeball. Just like so. Make it really weird looking. Okay, that's big enough. Click OK. And then what I did is I just went in here and I erased my eyeball. And remember, you have to unlock the layer first. So I got it unlocked. Now I'm just going to go in here with my brush and erase that part. And now this eyeball actually may be too small. I might have made it too small than what it is. But let's find out. I'm going to go to Filter, Pixel Bender Gallery. Here we are. Now this size is already at 4000, so I'm just going to readjust my center shift to get that properly in place. And sometimes you may have to check this transparent outside. You may have to have that checked, and I would recommend doing that. Just experimenting. If it's coming out where all you can see is the edges of the frame, and that's the only thing that's repeating itself, try clicking this transparent outside option, and it'll fix itself like that. Now, there we go. We got our crazy psychedelic voodoo eyeball picture here that just keeps on repeating. Click OK, and there you go. Now, I don't want to creep you out too much with the eyeball pictures, but that's just something you might want to try it with. Other good ideas are picture frames. As you can see here, I was holding a picture frame, and you can just have it repeat itself forever. You can do doorways, windows, telephone things, and keyboards, cameras. Anything round or rectangular seems to work really good. And clocks also work good. Here's some other examples from the ebook. And remember, you can click on all of these pictures and it will lead back to the original artist. So if I clicked on that picture, for example, it would bring it up in Flickr and we could comment on this picture. And that is that. That's how you work with the draw stay effect.